I want to talk to you tonight about what the program did for me. And the most part, it taught me how to just hang in there. And I know it sounds, very plain to say hang in there, but there's some principles that come along with that because it's not that easy. But before I do, just want to give you a little history about me and how I became part of the program and just how it brought me to where I am now. I was in the program from 96 to 98. I guess that's when I graduated high school, was 98. And I was going through a lot. My background, my mom had a substance abuse problem. My dad was really absent. He came around when he came around. I was the oldest, made the oldest, because I had an older brother, but he passed away. So I was middle who became oldest. So there was a lot of pressure to kind of take care of myself, so to speak. So with my mom having the substance abuse problem, I was forced to grow up fast. I had to take care of myself, take care of my sister, just do a lot of stuff around the house. And what appeared to be a parent who didn't care, I thought was fun and freedom. So that's how I got pregnant. I had too much time on my hands. Now, I will say that academically, I was great. That was my strength. But my weakness was that I was fast. And I had an attitude. I fought all the time because I didn't like it when people said things to me. I was real little, skinny. And people thought they could always take me. So I had to always have something to say. That really got me in trouble. But I will say that with all that time on my hands and running the streets and just kind of doing what I wanted to do, I met a boy who was just so fine. And, next thing I know, I'm pregnant. What happened was it was a mixture of me feeling like it wasn't going to happen to me and just not knowing. Of course, I knew about STDs. I knew about getting pregnant. But I also had this idea that I was invincible. I was like, get pregnant, please. Not me. That's not going to happen. So it did. And it was so funny because when I went to the doctor, I was very sick. And so my mom did take me to the hospital. And so the doctor came and he said, Sharonda, are you having sex? I was like, no. I am still a virgin. He was like, well, tell me why you're 8 weeks pregnant. I was like, oh. I said, you tell her. I'm not telling her. So nevertheless, he told her. And just as backup for me, I was like, you tell her, I'll stand behind you when you tell her. And so he told her, and she was livid. A lot of our parents, when they find out, the first thing is, you're not going to live here. You got to get out of my house. And I don't know if any of you had a mom like mine, but she was very verbally abusive. So I was, every bitch, every hoe, any name she could come up with, she came up with it. And that you would think that would wear on my self-esteem, but it didn't. What it did was it made me arrogant. And I think there's one or two things that can happen when you come out of an environment like that. You can either go ahead and fulfill that self-fulfilling prophecy and be that person they're telling you you are, or you can tell yourself you're not and build such a tough skin that nobody can touch you. So by the time I got to high school, I was like, yeah, I'm Sharonda, whatever. And people were like, she's so stuck up, she's so full of herself. But I had to be that way in order to make it. So, people say you don't talk about what goes on in your house, you don't tell anybody what your business is. But I had a big mouth, and I felt like, how am I going to get help? How's anybody going to come out and do anything? So I went to my counselor. I went to Thornwood, by the way. I went to my counselor, and I was so distraught that day. And I said, she says, well, Sharonda, what are you so sad about? Why are you crying? And so I told her what I was going through. I told her I was pregnant, and my mother was talking about putting me out. And, my son's father, he was in a gang, and he and I fought like cats and dogs. And people would think that I was, in hindsight, I say, well, maybe I was in a domestic violence situation, but I don't think so because I fought him just as much as he fought me, So it was very toxic. And for me to be 16 and I'm fighting him all the time physically, I'm fighting my mother, and the only thing I have, the safest place for me was school. So I went to my counselor. I told her what was going on. So she told me about the program. She said, but you have to change homerooms. And so I wasn't sold on the homeroom thing just yet because I was connected with the people that I was in class with. So she said, well, you get to eat in there, you get to have, I was like, that works. we'll go to that homeroom. If I can eat and just kind of chill out, that would be great. So I did. And in the homeroom, there were people come in from the outside. They come to the classroom and they'll talk to us because I wasn't the only teen mom. There were other pregnant girls there and other moms. And so I met Marsha McCullough and I met Janelle Coxbay. They came to the classroom, talked about the program, and I'm like, yeah, anything to get me out of the house, I'm down for it, you know. So I started joining the groups after school. We go over to the church in Harvey and we talk and we beg. I'm a very honest person. I have this saying that I don't have secrets, I have testimonies. So I don't mind telling people what I've gone through. So I'm telling people, I'm talking, I'm going around just, you know, people say, Sharon, you take your business so much. It's not my business. God made me go through it so I can share it with you, not so I can keep it to myself. So I've always done that. And with that, the program gave me so much. It gave me information on, you know, I had to build on my strength. So my strength was, okay, I was academically bright. I was athletic. I did do some things to stay active. And so I said, how can I make this work for me? Well, college was like the only thing. I'm like, where's it going to take me? If it's going to take me out of Harvey, I'm down. So we went to Ada S. McKinley. We filled out these college apps. Janelle helped me do the FAFSA form. We talked about how I can become emancipated as a minor because, you know, my mom, she was just racking up on the stamps and the medical cards, and I didn't see any of it, child support, and I never knew she was getting any of those things. So when they educated me on just all the options I had, I'm like, well, how can I make this work? So I became emancipated as a minor. Then I went away to school. I went to SIU Edwardsville, took my baby with me. I was down there with a 2-year-old. Big culture shock because I went from seeing, you know, all these black people to all these white people, and I said, I don't know if I could do this. I was scared. You know, I was by myself, but it took a lot of courage to leave. And, you know, the sad part about it all is that my mom never even knew I was going. So she didn't even notice the stuff in my room was just missing at a time. Because I would jump on the Greyhound and drive ride all the way down to Edwardsville or St. Louis. And then I would catch a cab from the St. Louis station to the campus. And so one day she came in the room. She said, why is your room so empty? I said, well, I'm going to college. She was like, when were you going to tell me? When were you going to ask? So I said to her, I'm leaving. So she was already frustrated because she had been cut off of stamps. She had lost her medical card. She was really upset with me. And then my dad no longer had to pay child support because I was emancipated as a minor, so she had kind of lost it all at once. She's very angry. So that summer, I left, me and my baby. We got on the Greyhound. I had a trash bag full of stuff in my hand, and we went. And I was there, and I've been there ever since. Just to give you an idea about how that happened, because it wasn't that easy. Like I told you before, I wasn't just fighting my mom. I was fighting, you know, my son's father. You know, he was very abusive. You know, he had a lot of issues when it came to getting kicked out of school, stealing, and he had got arrested for attempted murder, and so he's been in jail ever since. You know, he's still there actually. So when the judge gave him 25 years, I mean, I know this sounds bad, but I was the happiest day of my life because I was like, oh, God, I can do something. I can go and he's not going to follow me. He's not going to stalk me because that's what he was doing. I couldn't date. I barely made it to prom because every person that wanted to take me was scared of him. So it happened. Things happened. I feel like God opened up so many doors. So I went to school. It was a big culture shock. I struggled and struggled. My first 2 years were the hardest 2 years of my life. I was flunking and I wasn't making the grade, and I got put on probation. And so I went to the counselors there, and I just, you know, I talked to my teachers and said, you know, I really need this break. I can't go back to Chicago. There's nothing there for me. You know, if I go, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get pregnant again. I'm going to start hanging out with my friends. I really need to stay here. So I had got 2 Fs in a couple of classes. And so teachers said, well, I'll do this. I'll change it to a B. But you got to take the summer classes and make it up so you can, you know, stay in school. I'm like, whatever. So that was the last time I got Fs ever because I was like, I need to get out of here. So time went on. I stayed, great environment, finished up, got my master's. And I got my master's in counseling. And so I went ahead to get my clinical license. So now I'm a marriage and family therapist. And excuse me, sorry, I almost fell. But one of the things that I want to share that really taught me, so when I say hang in there are 3 principles that you need, and I want you guys to remember this, okay? So first, you got to have a plan, okay? Don't do anything without a plan, because if you don't know where you're going, you're going to get lost. When I say have a plan, decide where you want to go, what type of life you have, how do you want your kids to remember you, what type of life you want to have for them, because they're going to grow up and they're going to have memories. The same way I think of my mom is the same way your kids are going to think of you, and they're going to say, hey, my mother was supportive, she was nice, she was kind. My son, he'll be 15 this year, and he thinks he got it made. He has no idea his mom is who she is, you know. So have a plan. The second thing you have to do is have discipline. You have to discipline yourself with that plan. Because if you don't discipline yourself, there's no way you can discipline your children, which means sometimes you're not going to be able to party. Sometimes your friends are going to be doing things that you can't do. Sometimes you're going to have to let that boyfriend go. Sometimes you're going to have to, sit at home and make sure your child follows through with that punishment. It's not easy. This is everybody, you went to school and you had your baby. Right now you're surrounded by support. So for any of you that are going away to school, it doesn't get any easier. But if you have discipline and if you have a plan, then you'll be fine. You can't go back. You have to go forward. And the third thing you have to do is have faith. Because if you don't have faith and you believe that God's going to make it all right for you, you might as well hang it up. So you have to really say to yourself, even when you got $2 left and you need something, you just say, look, I'm going to make it happen. Because I'll tell you right now, I've been so broke before. Coming out as my bachelor's degree, making $24,000 a year, raising a child, I had nothing. But I didn't break down. I did not give up. I prayed on it. I worked hard. And sometimes, and really all the time, something mysteriously just happened. I don't even know. I'm like, that's God. So you definitely have to have faith. Don't let anybody discourage you, tell you what you can't do or who you're going to be, because you can't. You definitely can do that. So if you have those 3 things, you'll be fine. And you remember, you don't have secrets. You have testimonies. So don't let your demons keep you from going further. Okay? So you guys have a good night. Thank you.